Thanks, Christine, and thanks to the board members who shared their experiences and thoughts and their fun attitude. So we're delighted to have them with us and to share their stories. Now, we're very excited. I'm very excited to be joined here with me at Seattle Lives. Very happy to have the Executive Director and the founder of Manos Unidas, Celeste Marion, with me. We're going to have just a simple sort of studio chat and talk about some past, some present, and some future. But for people who may not be familiar with you and your involvement with this, how did you get involved with Peru to begin with?
Peru and I have a little bit of a love story, I would say. I arrived in Peru in 2004 as a simple backpacker traveling through Peru looking for volunteer opportunities for kids with disabilities. And one thing led to another, and I ended up 15 years there.
So you had 15 years, you could go in a lot of directions and just continue being a visitor and a traveler, but you decided to take it another step further. How did Manos Unidas come about?
Well, I spent the first 2 years volunteering for a very rural school for kids with disabilities in Peru, and the first year was very inspiring in the effort of I could make change and I can do this and I can show families how important kids with disabilities are. That second year was very difficult. It was facing a lot of very tough societal challenges of what actually making change to a social issue is in a developing country in a rural area for one of the most vulnerable populations that exist. And it was so devastating and hard that I pretty much threw in the towel until I met my partner, my associate who founded Manos Unidas with me. And that vision to start Manos Unidas was somewhat inspired by anger and frustration and somewhat inspired by we can show parents that their children can learn. So it was definitely a combination, and it started very small and just like, well, I'll help you start your school and I'll go back to my, life. And it just continued to evolve, and that's how Manos Unidas Peru started. Yeah.
And is that not only just your own personal drive, but the experiences you had and the obstacles you overcame, is that what kept you going? Because it would, as you said, it would have been easy to throw in the towel.
So I think what's kept me going all these years is I always had a vision for what was next, and I had a vision of something I wanted to see happen. I mean, we started in the living room of my associate's house in like this small space divided by a piece of plywood with 3 kids. And after a year, we had 25 kids in this small living room, literally climbing over each other. The vision was, here is what we can do. And then we would do it. Okay, well, here's what else we can do. And we would do it. So these achievements and goals and successes and seeing children's lives change, seeing parents' lives change, seeing teachers' lives change, seeing the community change at large, absolutely reinforced and motivated those next steps.
A lot of people with organizations see and hear a lot of numbers and a lot of stats, and you have those that you can share, but I know what your passion is are in faces and stories. If right now, if you were playing the game word association and you were asked Manos Unidas, what pops into your head?
Perseverance. Perseverance, frustration, I'm going to be honest. Resilience, I know that's a really common word this year, but resilience is a huge word in our field, in our category. Achievements, champions, and I think of so many champions in our Manos Unidas community that have accelerated and achieved such lifetime goals. But yeah, those are a few words that come to mind.
No one could have imagined the obstacle called COVID-19. And what sort of impact has that made on you and Manos Unidas?
A year ago, we were already launching a digital transformation initiative, meaning we were already looking at how do we take 10, 12 years of training teachers, training parents, and digitizing it and leveraging technology to reach more families, reach more teachers across Peru, across anywhere where people spoke Spanish. that got accelerated into full force. But take a look at where we were a year ago and what our vision was, and then I'll talk about where we are now.
Since 2007, Manos Unidas Peru has impacted the lives of over 700 people in the region of Cusco by breaking segregated systems, empowering families, and training professionals. We have worked to improve the quality of life of children and young adults with disabilities, or as we like to say, exceptional abilities. Our goal is inclusion within the family, schools, and workplace. Through our nonprofit school, Camino Nuevo, we have delivered quality education to more than 150 children through our programs, which include multi-disabilities, autism education, inclusive education, community-based transition, vocational training, and our social enterprise, Manos Unidas Cafe. Throughout the years, we have become exceptional educators and community examples. Now it's time to broaden our impact. Manos Unidas International is about to launch a digital transformation initiative across Latin America. We will launch an e-learning platform for communities serving children and youth with disabilities. We will provide digital skills training using culturally appropriate technology. We will use multimedia and diverse technological tools to create our content using Manos Unidas Peru as a model for learning. Technology will now help us reach thousands of children and youth beyond our programs, to reach those children without access to school or their community, and to reach those children whose lives still have no value. We will provide practical tools for parents and professionals, for those who have lost hope, and for those who have no idea where to begin. The seeds have been planted. Now we need you to help us grow.
We're going to continue our chat, Celeste and I, here for a minute, but I want to ask you, if you have a question that you would like to ask, type it in the chat, and if we have time, we'll get to that. But right now, I guess I'd like to ask even more about what does the future look like for Manos Unidas?
Yeah, it's actually really hard for me to see those images because knowing that the school has been closed for since September, because the school year started in March, they ran for a week and then it was shut down. So to be honest, COVID has accelerated this vision that we have, because as I came out of Peru after 15 years, I can't stop thinking about the children that we didn't reach and the 90% of kids with disabilities around the world who don't go to school. And so we have created a new program called Ayu. It's a word in Quechua that means community, because right now, as you know, community is what everybody is hungry for. And what we want to do is leverage technology to create an online virtual community for parents and educators of children with disabilities across Latin America. And we have already started. We've actually started in this studio creating our first video curriculum, course number 1, in how to train parents in evidence-based education, not just stuff that I've invented, but things that researchers have spent years proving that work to educate children with disabilities. And we're creating a video module, hundreds of video modules that parents will have access to, but not just watch a video. We're offering personalized consulting. We're offering question and answer sessions, live question and answer sessions. Our mission is to build a community across Spanish speakers, regardless of where they live, because they are the community that has the least access to information they need. And what COVID has taught us is that Manos Unidas Peru teachers and parents, we never envisioned that we would be using a smartphone and WhatsApp to be delivering education a year ago. My technology was limited to a smartphone and WhatsApp. So now I've put my head around how can we empower, how can we advocate, how can we help parents advocate for themselves? They are absolute evidence that virtual education works. They are evidence that when they are given the tools, they can drive their own children's education. Here in the United States, a lot of times parents they are frustrated about having to drive their own kids' education. It's the government's job, it's the school's job. In Peru, we don't have governments that are advocating for our kids. We don't have communities and schools that have the responsibility to educate our kids. It falls in the hands of the families. Educators are also hungry. So that's where we are today. The urgency is right now to build out our team, to create this product, this program, to bring together, there is over 1.3 million kids with disabilities in Peru and Mexico alone. If we tried to just dig out 1% of that, we're talking about almost 40,000 kids. So to go from 200 in a school to 40,000, that's what we're after.